Okay, we're recording now for the Cancer Talk and Meditation 2025. I was just talking about the keynote of Cancer, I build a lighted house and therein dwell. And the quote from astrology, which goes like this: this sign can carry deep meaning to all. You are in process of incarnation. You are following your chosen way. Is the house you are building yet lit? Is it a lighted house or is it a dark prison? If it is a lighted house, you will attract to its light and warmth all who are around you, and the magnetic pull of your soul, whose nature is light and love, will save many. Note that word save. We'll talk about this later on. If you are still an isolated soul, you'll have to pass through the horrors of a more complete isolation and loneliness, treading alone the dark way of the soul. Yet this isolation, this loneliness, and this separation is the dark night, in the dark night, are all part of the great illusion. It is, however, an illusion into which the whole of humanity is now precipitated in preparation for unity, freedom, and release. Some are lost in the illusion and know not what is reality and truth. Others walk free in the world of illusion for the purposes of saving and lifting their brothers. And if you cannot do this, you'll have to learn so to walk. Unquote. Very poignant passage that I've read many times and reflected upon. So I think without further ado, we will go into the meditation. And I'll stop sharing this screen and start sharing the meditation screen, which is here. Most of you are used to this meditation, but you're welcome to follow the on-screen text if you're not familiar with it. It's a basic universal meditation that many people use who are students of the Bailey books around the world. It's got 7 stages. And it will go for about 20 minutes or so. We finish by saying the great invocation. But you can just listen to my voices if you wish, of course, but if you don't know the great invocation, you can follow it on the screen. So, okay, I'm just going to mute my video. Okay. Let's take a deep breath or two. Just release all the tension and activity of the day so far. Tuning in to that quiet, still place within. Letting go of all our physical tension. Letting the breath just flow. And becoming aware of the thousands of people today who are meditating all around the world in all different time zones. Tuning into this open gate of the full moon, which is just in a few hours' time, in fact. So in a very powerful window of opportunity, a window of service, where we invoke the forces of Cancer and stimulate the intuition, becoming open to receive. And so we sound 3 ohms to align the personality vehicles, mental, emotional, physical. You can visualize light flooding through these vehicles. Oh. 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 You see the personality move into integration, alignment, and expanded life. Focusing in the heart or the head, which is most appropriate for you. And visualizing great blazing light, the orb of the soul, moving toward the lesser light of the personality, merging, blending, becoming at one as it absorbs the light of the personality. And we see the planet linked by various triangles of light within the etheric body, within the grid of the etheric body of the earth, and link ourselves to all the people we know, individually or in groups, all around the planet. And so we enter stage 1, group fusion. We affirm the fact of group fusion and integration within the heart center of the new group of world servers, mediating between hierarchy and humanity. We sound the formula for group integration. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Holding the mind, steady in the light. Stage 2, alignment. We project a line of lighted energy toward the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, the planetary heart, the great ashram of Sanat Kumara, and towards the Christ at the heart of hierarchy. Then we extend the line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. So, a line of light projected towards the hierarchy, the planetary heart, towards the Christ at the center of hierarchy. Then extending that line of light towards Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. Stage 3, Fire Interlude. We hold the contemplative mind open to the extra-planetary energies streaming into Shambhala and radiated through hierarchy. Using the creative imagination, endeavor to see the three planetary centers, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, gradually coming into alignment and interplay. Stage 4, Meditation. Let us reflect upon the seed thought for Cancer. I build a lighted house and therein dwell. I build a lighted house and therein dwell. Let us reflect upon this for a couple of minutes. Stage 5, Precipitation. Using the creative imagination, visualize the energies of light, love, and the will to good pouring throughout the planet and becoming anchored on Earth in prepared physical plane centers through which the plan can manifest. We use the sixfold progression of divine love as the sequence of energy precipitation. Shambhala, hierarchy, the Christ, the new group of world servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. So using the imagination, visualize these energies precipitating through this sixfold sequence: Shambhala, hierarchy, Christ, the new group of world servers, men and women of goodwill everywhere, and the physical centers of distribution. Let us spend a few minutes visualizing this sequence together. The energies of light, love, and the will to good. Stage 6, the lower interlude. We refocus the consciousness as a group within the periphery of the great ashram, and together sound the affirmation: in the center of all love I stand. From that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. And so we go back to visualizing the downpouring spiritual inflow, released from Shambhala, the planetary crown chakra, through the hierarchy, the planetary heart chakra, and streaming into humanity, the planetary throat center, through our prepared channel. And we consider how these inpouring energies are establishing the pathway of light for the coming world teacher, the Christ, or Lord Maitreya. Streaming from Shambhala to hierarchy to humanity. Page 7, distribution. As the great invocation is sounded, visualize the outpouring of light and love and power from the spiritual hierarchy through the 5 planetary centers: London, New York, Geneva, Tokyo, and Darjeeling. You can visualize it as a sequential line, if you wish, moving from New York to London, to Geneva, to Darjeeling, to Tokyo, irradiating the consciousness of the whole human race. Great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Om. 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 Thank you, friends. before I start, feel free to share, if you wish, any impressions from the meditation, or if you are new to this, any questions that you may have about this world mantra that we call the Great Invocation. Very good. Well, if you need to ask any question or make any comment, please do so in the chat. I'll keep my eye on it throughout the talk on cancer. It's amazing how infinite astrology is with regard to the science. I always marvel at it because I've been writing newsletters for the last 25 years. And there's no shortage of material to ponder when you penetrate the various signs of the zodiac. And of course, the rays, the 7-ray psychology that goes with esoteric astrology. And of course, this is the new psychology, the psychology of the 7 rays that will come into greater force during the Aquarian age. We're just at the very beginning of this age now. So it's only just a small seedling taking root, as is the science of esoteric astrology itself, which is called the science of all sciences. It's a pretty big statement when you think about it. So Cancer is one of the most ancient signs of the zodiac. Of course, the crab symbol of Cancer is a very ancient creature that knows all his survival skills, whether it's hiding under a rock, as in the picture that you can see here, or in a crevice, or indeed in its shell. The soft body of the crab inhabits this hard exterior. And the crab is a creature that exercises great economy. The law of economy relates to the 3rd ray of active intelligence, which comes through this sign, and the way the crab eats and scrounges from the sea floor and so forth. And of course, Cancer in this respect holds that primordial quality of fear, the survival instinct, the flight or fight syndrome, the need to provide nurturement for oneself and one's family. Hence, Cancer, the mother, the great archetype of the mother. Whereas, of course, Capricorn, the opposite sign, is the father, the goat, who also shows great economy of in the way it lives and the way it moves. Excuse me. So, as I said before I started the recording, Cancer is ruled by the moon exoterically in terms of the biological cycles and processes in our lives, like the tides, the menstruation cycle, and so forth. But the moon esoterically is regarded as having no spiritual life of its own. All the seeds of spiritual life were withdrawn from the moon in the so-called failure of the moon chain, which was a cycle a very long time ago, which I talk about in my book, The Hidden History of Humanity, and my documentary of the same name. And because of that failure, humanity has fallen behind in its evolution. And we are playing catch up in many ways through the science of initiation, which is essentially a speeded up process. And we are right in a vastly accelerated stage of initiation right now in 2025. Indeed, in the last century or so, in fact, spanning the world wars and the conflicts which we're in today. So the moon is the ruler of this fourth ray of harmony through conflict. It's the conflict part of the harmony through conflict equation. Mercury is the co-ruler of the fourth ray and is a sacred planet, and therefore is the more related to the harmony part of the equation. So all signs have rays associated with them through their rulerships or the actual rays coming through the sign. The third and seventh rays come through Cancer, and the seventh ray is the ray of ceremonial order or magic or organization. So the Cancer Capricorn axis, in fact, has the third and seventh ray in both signs, and this is what makes Cancer such a good manager of resources and money, as I point out regularly in my newsletters. But what is this lighted house that we build? It is the causal body of the soul that is built from our life experience. Is the sattvas, if you like, as they call it in the Hindu tradition, of our life experience, which expands and builds this mansion of the soul, as it were. And so I see this picture here on the screen of a house out in the woods somewhere in Scandinavia with the light shining inside. I think it's a beautiful example of this keynote of Cancer. So this fourth ray of harmony through conflict has been out of incarnation for a long time. It was present back a few centuries ago when the fourth ray soul we call Germany gave us this great crop of musicians that have was their great gift of the Germany's soul to humanity. And Beethoven, Mozart, and all the great composers. And this is why the fourth ray is also called the ray of art, beauty, and music. And so now in 2025, we are told that the fourth ray is coming back into incarnation again, slowly into incarnation is the phrase, in fact, and will predominate for maybe the whole Aquarian age, but at least the first decade of Aquarius, which will last for about 720 years. And we will see and experience music and art that we have never encountered before in our long history in that time. All right, so the fourth ray has a close relationship to Cancer. Just got to find my screen here again. There it is. I'm assuming everyone can see the screen with a picture of the moon and on it and Mercury. All right. So cancer is a very ancient primordial sign, as I said, of survival. In fact, it had a lot to do with the so-called first solar system. We are in the second solar system, or if you like, the second incarnation of three major incarnations, would you believe? And in that first solar system, the principle of intelligence, the third ray of active intelligence, was developed. In this system, we're developing the principle of love wisdom. All the seven rays that we talk about in esoteric astrology are but sub-rays of the second ray of love wisdom in many ways. We are learning how to love in this whole system, not just on Earth. And we have seven sacred planets in our solar system that have reached their evolutionary perfection. The Earth is still in the process of that, as are four other planets. So we have five non-sacred planets. And all these planets work as distributors of the seven rays which pour into our solar system from cosmic sources, having their origin in the great triangle of the Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades. I do discuss this in various of my lectures and seminars, which I hope to activate again soon. Been very busy lately. But and of course the moon and Mercury are conduits for this fourth ray, but so are certain signs of the zodiac. Taurus, Scorpio, for instance, has only the fourth ray coming through those two signs. As I've written a lot about, and you can find a lot of information in my books and on my website about that. The fourth ray also comes through Sagittarius. I think that's it. And of course, it doesn't come through Cancer, but it's associated closely with Cancer through the moon's rulership. Any questions or comments so far? And so, as with all the rays, there are various glamours associated with the ray. And in my latest newsletter, if you haven't read it, I discuss the glamours of the fourth ray. The glamour of harmony, aiming at personal comfort and satisfaction. The glamour of war. The glamour of conflict with the objective of imposing righteousness and peace. The glamour of vague artistic perception. The glamour of psychic perception instead of intuition. The glamour of musical perception. The glamour of the pairs of opposites in the higher sense. So I selected two of these glamours, which are applying very strongly to current events, such as the war in Ukraine and also in the Middle East. The glamour of war, the glamour of conflict with the objective of imposing righteousness and peace. Yet we're still living in the age of Pisces and the dying cycle of the sixth ray. So a lot of the sixth ray glamours are also affecting us. Some of the sixth ray glamours I've listed here: loyalties, creeds, interference, narrow vision, fanaticism, exclusiveness. The sixth ray is the ray of several countries, but particularly the personality ray of USA and Russia. The outgoing ray of the Piscean cycle as the seventh ray becomes stronger in this cuspal period. Of course, Mars is one of the rulers of the sixth ray, but so is Neptune. Mars is like a non-sacred planet, so it's a much more raw energy, and Neptune is a sacred planet, so it's much more refined. But whether it's a sacred planet or non-sacred planet, they all have their shadow expressions. And it just so happens that Neptune is the sole ruler of Cancer, where you have Neptune, the mystic, the visionary, the imagination. And so it's very much related to music, to film, photography, art, and so forth. And of course, intuition or direct knowledge or divine reason, as it's also called, or buddhi. So because the moon doesn't have any spiritual seeds left in it, we are told in esoteric astrology that it veils a hidden planet, Uranus, Neptune, or Vulcan, depending upon the intuition of the astrologer. And so in a chart, that can be a challenging thing to discern when you're reading a horoscope as an astrologer. Sometimes it might be a bit easier if the moon aspects one of those three planets, like moon conjunct Neptune or moon square Uranus, etc. It's more likely that the moon will veil that particular planet, veil as such, which means that because the moon is the dweller on the threshold in the personal horoscope, it represents the limitations that we have built up over many lifetimes, the crystallizations, the old rigid patterns that need breaking up, the things which are unconscious in us that constitute our major spiritual obstacles. We can draw on our moon in a positive sense as well, of course. We do it without thinking, and therein lies the unconscious aspect of the moon. And so once we've transcended, relatively speaking, the limitations of our moon or our dweller on the threshold, we start to access more the veiled planet, whatever that might be. And see, astrology is a very intuitive science, can be a very concrete science as well, of course, but ultimately it's a science that fosters the awakening of the intuition, this common sense that goes beyond the other senses, the sixth sense, as it's also called. Okay. Feel free to make comment or question if you wish in the chat. Sometimes the question that you're not asking that you may want to ask may be the question that someone else wants to ask as well, so it can be illuminating. Anyway, press on. So when you have this combination of fourth and sixth ray at the moment, with all this saber rattling going on around the world, with one country threatening another country, with this or that, and countries being bombed and so forth, then further threats. This is probably going to get worse, I think, than what it is now. We haven't seen the end of it, and it may go on for a few years. But one thing is definite that's happened in 2025. The hierarchy of light or wisdom, the masters of wisdom, have made their decision at probably the Gemini full moon just gone, because of the fact that those first three festivals are the main ones that set the tone for every year. It's been prophesied for a long time that this centennial conclave that's held in the 25th year of every century, this particular one is a major one where they will decide when to reappear amongst humanity again after having disappeared for a long time since the dying days of Atlantis. So this is revolutionary, and this is why we're experiencing so much conflict, because the materialistic forces, which we are all part of to some degree or other, are fighting tooth and nail to maintain the status quo, to keep things as they are. But it cannot happen. It's a vain fight on their part, but they will continue to fight ruthlessly until they are defeated. And the only way they can be defeated is by all of humanity rising up and making a stand, as I often say. It's a bit of a platitude, but it's important to keep restating it because it has to do with the cultivation of courage, which is related to the heart, in fact. Capacity for courage is based upon how much love you can express, I believe. So, as I say, these glamours of the fourth and sixth rays will, particularly the fourth ray, as it's coming back into incarnation, the point of least resistance is going to be some of the lower attributes of the fourth ray. And yet, because the sixth ray is still going out of incarnation, and which conditions the majority of humanity's personal astral bodies, and because it's been in incarnation for so long, the effects are going to last for probably another century or so, even though it apparently was going out of incarnation back in, I think it was 1625. It started moving out of incarnation. 1625 in the late Elizabethan era in Britain, for instance. Time of Francis Bacon, who of course is one of the masters now, is the one called Count Saint Germain, or Master Rakotsi, the Lord of Civilization. So it is. I've written many articles on this, and you can find on my website. The latest, I think, that the Masters of Wisdom will reappear will be about 2080. I would say at the very latest, and that's based upon certain conjunctions of Saturn and Uranus in Aquarius and other air signs between now and then. But I think we may get a preview in the next 5 or 10 years that vastly inspires humanity and will be a very encouraging sign, as it were. Maybe sooner than we think, in fact. Many people say that the battle has already been won on the inner planes. It is yet to manifest externally on the physical plane. Well, that may be so. But we can't take anything for granted these days. And so these full moon periods are important in terms of groups coming together and consolidating their will in terms of how they understand the externalization of the plan and the purpose of hierarchy. And this is the Aquarian way, to seek those who of like mind and create groups that can work together in serving some facet or aspect of the plan, of the planetary plan. And a lot of this happened from about 2020 onwards during the pandemic, when people formed groups online or in their local physical communities. And this just spontaneously arose. Millions of groups all around the world of support and so forth, and of sharing. And that to me is one of the greatest indicators of the Aquarian age that's coming for the next 2,160 years. The sun does not astronomically precess into Aquarius till about 2117. It's a fairly exact figure, I know. There's an article about that on my website. You can find if you just do 2117 in the search, or 2,117. So we are living in very critical times, and a lot of humanity have been waking up in the last 10 years, particularly the last 3 or 4 years. They've emerged from mass consciousness, which Cancer rules over. The Moon and Neptune, in fact, both rule mass consciousness. And so what's occurring is that many people are emerging from mass consciousness, learning how to think independently, learning to about critical thinking, discernment, discrimination. And this is this is a reflection of the polar opposite of Aquarius that we're moving into, and the sign of Leo, the next sign after a Cancer. Leo, the individual. Leo has a lot to do with the birth of thinking. It was prominent back in Lemuria in the time of individualization. Anyway, so this Cancer Capricorn axis is one of the 2 signs of 7 signs that channel the energies of Sirius through it. As I also point out regularly, there's a few articles about it on my website, where Cancer Capricorn and the planet Saturn work in a triangle with the energy of Sirius to invoke or bring through the energy of Sirius. Why Sirius? Because Sirius, this fixed star Sirius, is the higher self of our entire solar system. And we are told in the so-called blue books, the Alice Bailey books, that the bulk of Earth humanity, once liberating themselves from this planet, will embark upon the so-called 4th cosmic path, the path to Sirius, and start another evolution all over again. Something to look forward to. And the next month of August, where the Sun is in Leo, it will be a major festival for invoking the forces of Sirius in the future, we are told. Heidi says, what is the difference between the moon and the black moon in a natal chart? The black moon is like a point in space. It's an astronomical point. And I find it incredibly accurate in horoscopes. Amazingly so at times. I don't use it all the time in my readings, but in some readings that I have, in fact, I think someone is here today that had a reading from me recently. The black moon filled in a huge gap of understanding. So there are 3 types of black moons, but this is the main one. There is an asteroid called Lilith, black moon Lilith, and there's I think there's another trans-Neptunian point somewhere. It's hard to keep up with all these cosmic bodies. But yeah, good question, Heidi. It's certainly worth considering in the birth chart. It does take you very deep into reflecting within the self, particularly the shadow self. It's a bit like Pluto and Scorpio in some ways, as the name suggests, black moon. But it's not like a dark and necessarily dark or negative energy either. It's certainly a good tool for self-knowledge and for purging within oneself what needs to go. All right. We've reached the point of, I was going to say no return. We've reached the point of well, I only do an hour for this meditation and chat, but we can go longer if you want to, and that depends on how much you want to, how many questions you want to ask. So I'll just wait, see if anyone wants to ask anything else, and we can leave it at that. Just want to actually just also bring your attention to the fact that I've got a new book coming out. Where is it? Scroll down here. It's in the newsletter actually. You can see my books here. But here it is. Ta-da! Now, this is a revised and updated version of my original 2006 book of the same name. And then in 2017, it was vastly updated under another title called Unveiling Genesis, Mysteries of the Root Races and Cycles. But now I've revised it again and made a lot of corrections and changed the format back to a large A4 or US letter size, I think they call it, in order to have better, clearer diagrams and charts and so forth. So it's quite a big, weighty tome, and it should be out in about 4 weeks' time, should be available. It's just at the printer at the moment. But the reason I've called it The Hidden History of Humanity 1 is for three reasons. Firstly, it's reclaiming the original title. Secondly, because I have 2 or 3 other volumes planned in this series, I want there to be no confusion with the Unveiling Genesis title. Hence, I've reclaimed the original title and called it Volume 1, and the next one will be Volume 2, obviously. And it also corresponds to the name of the video, to the documentary, 2 hours and 37 minutes, The Hidden History of Humanity. If you haven't seen it, check it out. With over 10 million views so far in the last few years. Excuse me. And also what I'll be doing with this book is going through the entire book on a weekly Zoom meeting like we're having today, for 1 year, 2 years, however long it takes. I'm going to go through the entire book because I need to revise it myself. There's much in this book that I don't understand myself. So it's for my own revision too, but I'd love to have plenty of people come along for the ride on a weekly basis and go through the entire volume. And that will help me in terms of writing volume 2, which I've already started last year. So, with that. All right then. Thanks everyone for coming. I will see you next month. I forgot to advertise this meditation, otherwise more people would have turned up. So do look forward to seeing you all next month, and stay tuned. Ciao for now.
And the third chat. Okay.